It's Friday, swinging open the gateway to your weekend, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got a lot for you ahead on the show. Michael Feir brings us one last bunch of recommended podcasts to keep us fresh for the summertime. Going to have so much audio entertainment available, just keep listening. He has everything from horror to general knowledge trivia, comedian conversation, and history all broken down. But coming up, we continue to recognize the live show era at AMI Audio. So hang in.
This is Kelly and Company.
Kelly MacDonald here, host of the program. Glad you can be with us one more week, ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up Kelly and Company. And in for his final bow here on the show, Mr. Brock Richardson. Hi, sir.
Hello. I always love to be here, and it's bittersweet that we're doing the final bow, but all good things must come to an end, as they say.
Yes, sir. And speaking of the final bow, we'll get some words from Brock a little later on in the show, as well as Mike Feir when he joins us. But let's start with a former staff member at AMI that was integral in the live show era. This is an interview that we did a couple of weeks ago and want to share it with you right now. We've been trying our best to do a stroll down memory lane when it comes to the show ending on June 27th. So we've just been pleased as punch to be able to go back, speak to people who have had some kind of involvement with the AMI Audio live show era. So John Melville came to me and we started talking about the idea of this afternoon show. So I said, that would be wonderful. I mean, I've always said lifetime dream, right, for me. And I got to start knowing, because I was on the TV side then, people deeper involved with AMI Audio. So I first had to talk to Kevin Philipupillai. I welcome Kevin Philipupillai with me today here to have a little chat about those early days. And Kevin, we roped you in, Matt Agnew in, and that was our team to begin putting together Kelly and Company. Can I, first of all, welcome you back here, but also, can you go back and think all the way back to 2016 when they first came to you and said, hey, Kevin, what was that like and what happened?
Thanks very much, Kelly. Nice to talk to you. Well, the first thing that happened wasn't any manager coming to me. It was you nudging me in the hallways, whispering to me for, I felt like a week or two or a couple of weeks ahead of time, saying, hey, we've got this thing working. What do you think about this? What do you think about this?
All right. Close enough to a manager, at least in my mind.
So I think I probably heard about it from you first, behind the scenes, before anyone kind of talked to me officially about it. And that was when Matt and I were working on documentaries together, 2016, kind of middle of 2016, I think.
That's what I would think, right? Kev, the working on documentaries that you guys were doing, when you found out about doing the show, other than me, big mouth saying something to you, in your mind, where did you feel in the state of readiness to do a live show? And taking that experience that you had of doing so many great works with documentaries.
It was very different. It was exciting, but it was certainly very different because with a documentary, you're taking time, you're taking a couple of weeks to put something together. And with the live show, it comes at you every day. If you have a bad day, you flush it, you move on to the next one, right? Yeah. And if you have a great day, you can enjoy yourself a bit, but you can't let that affect the next day. So there was an energy to it, an everyday kind of energy that was different. That was new, that I enjoyed. Yeah. So it was a nice change.
So we were under the mandate to create this lifestyle, health, leisure show and have some entertainment, but not so much make entertainment, making the laughs and stuff like that. The focus of the show, it was community, bringing people from the community to be involved around the table as contributors. And of course, the goals, that audience out there we wanted to hear from too. In your earliest days of sitting down and thinking, what's this thing going to be? How's it going to look? And a lot of us admitting, hey man, this is not my skill set. I'm not a journalist. I never thought of doing a talk show in any format. What were some of your earliest thoughts? And when it came to actually digging in the mud and getting started, how did you decide what direction you needed to start with to kind of make this thing get on the road and you feel comfortable with what you're being tasked with?
Well, one of the things I remember was wanting to make sure, like you said, that people from the community were involved, that we had a kind of a community feel, and a lot of people being involved. So I had come from a journalism background, but this was a bit different because making sure that this is people with day-to-day experience, day-to-day knowledge of all kinds of different aspects. And we wanted to have a mix. I remember you had a pretty good idea of a long list of people that you wanted to make sure were involved. And so then it was just a question of figuring out who might be able to do what, who might be able to talk about what areas, what issues, and kind of bringing everything together. So a lot of the early work, as I remember, was just talking to people and seeing what kind of commitment they could make.
With your journalistic background, and forgive me for saying that off the top, I forgot, kind of that education you had. That's what really supported those documentaries we talked about. What did you pull from that to get this thing ready in a familiar way for you for when we launched on October 31st of 2016?
Well, we wanted it to be professional and polished, right, from the start. We didn't want, because this was the second live show, if I'm correct, that
yes,
AMI launched after the morning show. And it was a different feel. The morning show was a bit more newsy, and we were more kind of focusing on all the other aspects of your life, of people's lives. So we wanted to make sure that, but we didn't want it to be kind of, we wanted it to be professional. And so making sure that that we were polished, that we had our ducks in a row, and it was a good feeling getting things together. The team came together.
Yeah, I remember some of those deep conversations and having to bend the arm of some people who said, I don't know if I have enough to do. I remember that with the late Tom Decker. I'm not sure I have enough to put these segments together. I remember Danielle Johnkind coming, when we went to do a test with her, and her being so sure days before the show went to air for the first time, before her first segment even with us. I don't know. What do you remember of challenges that you felt when we went to air, got going on the day-to-day, and no longer had 4 months to start putting a show together with no show going, but now every day you've got to create that 2-hour show which is what it was at the time?
Yeah, you have a couple months to plan the first show, the second show, and then you have 24 hours, 12 hours to plan the 15th show. So yeah, that was interesting. Like you say, there were some people who go, what am I going to talk about? And then they end up sending in acres of notes. I want to talk about this and this and this. And then there were some people who I think we did have to prompt a bit, because people know, they have knowledge in them. And it was just a matter of drawing it out, because people might think that nobody would be interested in this thing that I know very well, that I experience on a day-to-day basis. But it turns out a lot of other people were looking to hear from them on areas that they're very passionate about and that they knew a lot about, but didn't know that they were experts about.
You would go on to go over to Now at Dave Brown. Oh, sorry, I guess it was live from Studio 5 then, excuse me, and then turned into Now at Dave Brown. But you were moved in different places and away from our show after a while. I don't know if you have any other memory of the Kelly and Company experience, that you want to share, or if you want to kind of move more into Kevin stepping up and the confidence being shown by management as this guy and senior producing and so on. Talk a little bit about the steps that were to follow before you left us.
Well, yeah. So I will say that I was very happy that we were able to get people on the show who could talk about, say, financial matters, the RDSP disability programs and things like that. Because a lot of people, I think, probably had questions about how these very technical programs worked. So I was happy that we were able to get that kind of thing on, in addition to stuff that, could brighten your day, a little bit of sports, a mix of things. For me, after the afternoon show, I went on over to the morning show, and that's when we were moving over to TV for the first time. And so Andy talked to me about that, and I was thinking, I'm a radio guy. You want to put cameras in the studio?
Exactly.
What is this going to be? It was an interesting adventure. And I was always the guy who, you don't want me taking the photograph because I can see what's going on in the picture, but I don't know where to point the camera. So this was different. It was learning from a lot of new people, but it was an interesting adventure. I'll say that. We learned a lot as we went.
Does it help you going forward in life? I mean, Kev, talk a little bit about what you're doing now so people can find your work. But I mean, a lot of print journalism people would say, hey, where does this live show? Where does this TV? Where does this microphone here in front of me to do an audio program? How does it matter in the growth of media in your world? How does it impact you?
Yeah, so I left. So I was at AMI from 2015 to 2020, and then I moved to Ottawa to go back to school for a bit for journalism, to do a little bit more. And then I started working for a newspaper in Ottawa that covers Parliament Hill, so federal politics. It's called the Hill Times. So I was there for 2 years, and this was actually the time when the Canada Disability Benefit was going through the legislature. So I actually got a firsthand look at some of the choices that were being made and some of the disappointments as well, some of the successes and disappointments. And it was a lot of people who I got to know at AMI during my time at AMI that I was able to reach out to and ask for a deeper level of understanding. And then I got to track and see how and why some of these issues were not getting as much attention from members of parliament, let's say, and also meeting some members of parliament who did care very deeply about making sure that people got the kind of benefit that they needed. And so it was a range. And I think a bit of a mixed outcome at the end.
Yeah. Did it allow you, Kevin, as we have talked about numerous times when you worked with our show, the morning show, you get frustrated seeing how there are roadblocks just seemingly put intentionally in the way, or the priority isn't there for disability services policy and that to be put in place except for the people who want it in. But when it comes to political sphere, we'll get to that. It's way down on the chart. Being there in Ottawa and talking to the people that you had access to and doing your work, and especially when you'd come across disadvantaged communities, the elderly, the disabled, the work that you did at AMI, these contacts and everything, I'm going to imagine it gave you a leg up on so many other media people. And again, we know it was a very frustrating time, is a frustrating time whenever we try to fight the battle of people that really need those supports, help, and somebody to help battle with them.
Yeah, I think and this won't be a surprise to everyone, but it's not necessarily something that a lot of the people who are making policy decisions might have personal experience with. And so then it became a point of advocates having to educate the people who were making the decisions, spend a lot of time educating people. But like I said, there are also, it's surprising sometimes. I did run into members of parliament in some cases, interviewing a senator or two who did really understand why a substantial benefit was important. I think the disappointment for everybody came around the time when the finance ministry set aside the lump sum that it was going to make available. And then you could see, compared to, say, the childcare benefit that they put through a little bit earlier, oh, this is not at all the same amount of money. And so then it's not going to stretch as far. The big lump sum is not going to stretch as far. So that was kind of an indicator. It became clear, I think, earlier than some other people realized, okay, this is not going to be the same amounts that people are looking for.
And the battle continues, Kev. It really does, especially as so much gets rolled out in the provinces next month. Kevin, where are you now? Where are you going? What's next for Kevin Philipupillai?
So I'm no longer at the newspaper. I now work for a climate nonprofit in Ottawa. And that was the other area that I've been reporting on when I was with the newspaper, and decided to cross over to the other side. So I'm not a journalist anymore. I am allowed to have opinions of my own in public. And it's been interesting getting to learn things. I'm used to being the person asking questions. now I'm supposed to have answers to these questions. Oh no.
We always knew, Kevin, who to come to and get answers from, or if you didn't know it, it would be, I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, so I've been studying up a lot, trying to read, all these policy papers and things, which I'm still at the low end of the learning curve. I'm trying to learn, but it was something that was a bit more stable in terms of for me and my partner in terms of employment, and so that worked out a little better. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good luck going forward, Kevin. And I have to give you a big thanks for being a part of, for me, a dream of a lifetime, being on air. I think about when I was a kid, right through to college, and hoping, gosh, I hope I get a chance to go on air. Maybe a bit different field for all of us for the first foray doing radio in that sense, a talk show, but the impact, the community involvement, and the storytelling we've been able to do, what an absolute pleasure. So thank you for being a part of the launching and not minding that bird whispering in your ear, gossiping, saying, hey, we got something coming up, man. We got something going on. Thanks a lot, pal.
Thanks, Kelly, and thanks to Matt and Ramya and everyone else. It was fantastic working with you, and I look forward to seeing what you do next.
Thank you, sir. Kevin Philipupillai, our original first producer on the show as we work through things and celebrating the live show era at AMI Audio. It's interesting too, Brock, when I listen to me refer to Kevin and try to identify who he was when we kicked off the show. We've had to revamp and really look at people's positions and say, okay, we need this component producer, this senior producer, this technical producer. So many things changed since back when we were diving in with both feet and seeing what we'd come from. Now, with that being said, Brock, one of the things that we noticed is at some point there was the opportunity to bring a sports show over to be a part of it, to do some pre-recording, then some live kind of stuff with a sports show. Remind me how that worked, because that was you, and then your involvement with this show.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin always instilled a quiet sort of confidence. So for me, that was the guy that I would see in the very beginning. And then we got to build through the neutral zone, and it started as a pre-record on Thursday. And then we moved to Friday afternoons, and then we did Saturday mornings, and we just did all kinds of weird and wacky things with the neutral zone, and we just kept rolling with it. But one of the first people that I was around was Kevin Philipupillai, and the quiet confidence. And something, if I can just say very quickly, was the fact that he mentioned that, you flush a good day and a bad day all at the same time. And I remember having a really bad day in one of my first days as a co-host of this program, and Matt Agnew, then technical producer, came into my ear and said, okay, you have a choice. For the next hour and 45 minutes, you can beat yourself up, or you can flush it and move on. And I chose to not beat myself up for an hour and 45 minutes and just continue on. And so those kind of moments where you remember, flushing the good, the bad, and everything in between, and understanding you have a 2-hour show to do. So let's move on and take it forward. Very grateful for everybody, but Kevin, first and foremost, originally.
With this being your last show, Brock, is there anything you want memory-wise or something you want to share?
Look, I mean, this show has been the reason that I am where I am today. I mean, this show is the reason I have you as a mentor. This show is the reason I have a ton of friends. This show has just been so much to me. And I remember when I was first approached to be a co-host, and it was that moment of like, you want me to do what? You want me to be a co-host of a live show? And so you did that tap on the shoulder, and then you did the, oh, but now we'd like you to actually host the 2-hour live show, and we'd like you to do that. So I had these moments of wait, they actually believe in me. They actually believe in my ability. They actually believe in my skill, and they trust in the program that I took with Connect for Life. And so just this program has given me so much and built me into where I am today and where I hope to be going in the future. But I will be forever, forever grateful for this program and everybody involved.
Well, it's always fun to follow your socials, Brock. Opportunities that you are always trying to chase down is so wonderful. It's empowering, I'm sure, to your followers, to people who hear you speak when there's success. And that life, as you were saying about Matt getting in your ear and saying, here's your choices, is not always full of success. It's sometimes we fall down, and that's just the way life looks. I say to people, follow Brock on social media, and he'll block out some time for you, and yeah, that's how come. And you'll find these moments where he has that great news to tell. And I think as an aspiring broadcaster all my life, as I mentioned with Kevin, making the dream come true, I love to see everyone else do it. I also love to see the progress. And Brock, thank you for sharing. I want to bring Mike Feir in, who has a segment for us too on the show, but I think that's what it's about, Michael. And I know when you started with us, kind of wondering, well, what am I going to bring to this show? And we'll take a bit of time when we wrap to get into this. So I'll give you a few minutes to kind of think about it, as if you haven't been for a month since we've announced the show, I think. But let's get into your content first, if you don't mind. For
Sure.
Mike's last bow on Kelly and Company, he's got a real good helping of podcasts for us, which have impressed him enough to recommend to the audience. All of them are free and should provide hours of enjoyment to you. So, Mike, what's recently captured your interest for the first time?
Yeah, there have been a few really neat ones recently. With the War Game is a neat one. It basically produced by the Tortoise. It's a news kind of outfit in Britain. Looks at what would happen. How prepared is Britain if Russia decided to attack Britain like 6 months from now? And boy, they don't get into classified stuff, but they actually have people like Jack Straw, like politicians who were in it, like for real, who dealt with the real thing. And they basically play a war game, and they have experts in Russian strategy on the other side. And they go through like, okay, well, Russia shoots a number of cruise missiles at Britain. What do we? Well, we have 4 destroyers that can take those out, but only 2 of them are seaworthy. None of them have their full loads of ammunition. Just the cupboards are so bare in there, and this isn't classified. They didn't talk about anything classified. So the sense you get of, oh my God. Right?
When you think about the timing on this, Mike, because of everything we've heard with the invasion of the Ukraine and Europe's stance with Russia, and we think of it a bit differently because we're not right there where Europe is closest and stuff. We think, what the heck are they doing coming up into our north or floating around in submarines underneath? This is kind of timely.
Yes, very, and it really makes you think about our situation. And we're guilty of the same thing. Our military has been kind of chopped bit by bit, and we would be in some trouble if we were. And the other thing they did was they because of America's current politics, they said, okay, they're not going to jump in like they would have previous administrations, right? This is the new era where America doesn't want to get involved necessarily. So what does Britain do if it has to do things on its own? And wow, very, very timely, kind of neat things. Another neat one, Understood has a series. This is a CBC podcast. We're going to cover a number of them. They're doing wonderful in this space. Basically Understood has a series called Who Broke the Internet? And a guy, Cory Doctorow, he's a science fiction writer, tech writer. He's done several books. And usually he kind of gives his books. You can buy his books, but you can also get them for free, typically. Very interesting kind of character. And he basically has this whole series of decisions made about the internet and made for the company, like the companies will get you using it. Google built itself up as the place to go to find things, right? Even now I still use Google. But at some point they decided it's okay if our experience gets a bit worse so that we're exposed to more ads so that they make more money. So now it's kind of a bit harder to find things on Google. Cory called this enchitification, and he covers the whole gambit of why this is happening. And social media, it's not just Google, it's social media, it's all over the internet. And companies are doing this because now we're the customer, we're the product, and the advertisers are really, who foot the bill. So what does that do to our experience? And he goes through. So that was really neat. The third really brand new thing that I just stumbled on by sheer chance, Desert Skies. It's basically this podcast about this diner that you go to after you die, before you sort of go into the the afterlife along that road, you stop at this diner, this place, kind of service station where you can get supplies that you need, and there are all these characters that try to, manage the story and kind of help these wayward souls who aren't very prepared for what's in store for them, and try to help them on their way. So it's relaxing at the same time as it's fun and witty all at once. It's a really neat kind of more slow paced kind of thing, but very, very kind of relaxing to listen to.
Excellent. I see it with the debaters as kind of that more comedy, kind of laid back stuff.
Yeah, the debaters is definitely. I looked at for some casual listening where you can't necessarily pay attention to like long chunks of time, right? And for summer you want something with good laughs, and the debaters really qualifies. They have follow a debate format. They get two comedians. Steve Patterson is a great host, pretty funny himself. And they just go at it about different topics. What's better, hamburgers, hot dogs? Could be anything, right? And what's better, Mother's Day, Father's Day, right? They'll take these topics and just go at it, with logic, just all in really good fun and good sportsmanship. It's a wonderful thing to spend, a good half hour. You get two debates usually in that time. About two different topics and some just wonderful thoughts from comedians. Sunday Magazine is my other casual pick. That one is Pia Chattopadhyay is the host, and it's basically a current affairs show, so kind of news, and also has interesting people, authors. Has puzzles, so audio puzzles in it that people can kind of do, help do on their own kind of thing, and competitions between the host and other guests. So it's a lot of fun. It keeps you informed, but it also kind of gives you a bit of an escape and shows some of that human interest side of the news. So those are
great.
Good for casual.
Scare us a bit. Yeah,
spooky podcasts. We have the big three, in my opinion. The No Sleep podcast is just number one. It's fantastic. I paid for the extended version of that, and it has been worth every penny. Spooked has been there forever. It is basically short stories. It kind of came off of the Snap Judgment podcast with Glenn Washington, who's an amazing host of that, and just people telling spooky things as if they're like real stories. And you kind of get the sense that they, this is stuff that they've experienced, right, or believe that they've experienced. So it's fascinating. Third pick on that is Uncanny. This just continues to be amazing quality. Danny Robbins is the host, and he basically has experts on the skeptical and believer side. And he will just kind of take these incidents, these stories around the UK and other places in the world, and kind of look at them and then take it back to his experts and also the community of listeners who can chime in as well. So really neat, thought-provoking podcast there.
Awesome. I'm going to put the brakes on you, Mike, because I want to leave you enough time here, as we know we're always up against the clock. You can find these podcasts by searching for these names in your favorite podcast app, or ask your smart device to play them for you. Mike, your last segment, a big thank you for everything you've done for the program, being here for so long, and when we invited you back, being able to repurpose yourself and come out. Your final words.
Well, let's see. It's been amazing covering all these podcasts and different things. I've collected, growing, over the decades, all this audio entertainment as I, tried to find my place in life, and this stuff. It's good if you guys provided me with an audience where suddenly what I had gathered on my own mattered to people, and I could share. Often I'm running into a situation where I might know a lot that could help someone, but I don't know that they don't know what I know.
Yeah.
And this provided me an opportunity to really put it out there for people. So thanks a lot for that. I'll ever be grateful for the opportunity to do that.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you so much for what you've done. I turn to Brock Richardson, who gets the last word for us quickly.
Thank you to Kelly and company, to Kelly especially, for all the belief and the trust that they had in me. I will be forever grateful for this opportunity, and I will never take it for granted. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful to work with both of you guys, and your dedication to our show is spectacular. On Monday, we will continue going down memory lane as we visit with downtown Dave Brown, and not just to promote his new show, Game Changers, on AMI TV. Oh, see, we just did that. But we'll take some time to celebrate the live show era, starting Monday with Now with Dave Brown. Our last week coming up, folks. Please hang with us for all those reflections and so much more beginning Monday. We're waving at you, folks. Now, get out of here, will ya?
Thanks for tuning in to Kelly and Company. Follow us on all social media, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more.